Hey, my name is Dennis. Let me give you a quick intro to LaunchBrightly. We do automated product screenshots. Let's rewind a little bit. So imagine you put a SaaS product into market, and to support that SaaS product, you put a help center in place with an elaborate knowledge base. That knowledge base will be chock full of really good articles. Each article will have a host of product screenshots. Say this particular article for a analytics product where they are trying to explain MRR, and to do that they inserted a chart. This chart came from the application itself, and one would hope it is up to date, so you show what is actually going on in reality and not some dated, slightly rotten version of that. To do that, we've put in place a platform where the first thing you do is that you set up a product. And you can think of a product almost as a bucket of screenshots with a set of parameters. Let's jump into the example product I have here. The example product I've set up to take desktop light screenshots. Side note, we can take screenshots in multiple modes at the same time on a single recipe, so you don't have to do more work. But the first thing I would like to do is to set up a login profile. Almost all of the screenshots that we take are behind closed doors, as in you have a particular demo account where you populated a set of data and you use that to demonstrate the value of your offering, and we should kind of log into that. The reason we run a login profile is that you don't need to engage engineering to set this whole thing up. So the profile is simply one where you say, here is the URL you should go to log in. Let me go set the email of my demo account, and I've added that. I will set the passwords of that particular account. I will absolutely go change this afterwards, set the passwords, and then lastly I will click the sign in button, and I click that, and we now sign into the application. I will save this login profile so that we can reuse it over and over again on each one of the recipes that you will go create, and you only have to do this once at the very beginning of your setup. Now, let me jump into a different account. Like any good cooking show, I've baked a few recipes ahead of time. So here we go, and you will now see a set of elements. Think of these as recipes, and you can order them under these particular tags, or just look at them in one big long table if you want to, but they're really just individual recipes that's been set up to take a set of screenshots that look like this. Now, in a perfect universe, each one of the images, unique images in your knowledge base, will have a recipe that you set up so it's automated. We'll have a good understanding of whether a particular image exists in multiple articles, and you will obviously only need to generate one recipe for that, and it can be populated to 7 some odd articles for where you go use it. Now, before we go any further, let's set up a simple recipe to start, just for the fun of it. I can just create one up here or throw it under this particular MRR tag. So let's do that. We'll call that Dennis Test, and I'll open up the cloud browser. Again, just as a side note, this cloud browser here is like a normal browser where you can navigate around and do all sorts of things to figure out where is it that I need to go take a screenshot right now. Let's say, for this example, you want to take a screenshot of one of these cards on the dashboard, and I will say this is the page that we want to go to. We have this what you see is what you get tooling, where you can hover over each one of the elements, and that's an important factor to take into consideration when you compare us to, say, a screenshotting extension on your Chrome browser, which is that we try not to deal in pixels. We deal in components on the page so that if this changes in the future, expands, contracts, new chart, something else, we will still latch onto it, take a new screenshot, even in different dimensions. So now, I picked this one here. I'll say that's the particular element. And I might just say there was some sort of complexity in how we got to the increase. I want to annotate that and speak to that specifically in my articles. I want to add an arrow to that. I'm a fan. So we add that. There's a style template which is applied, which I will get to, that we will say goes on top of that, and we save it under a distinct file name. I will get to that as well. And we set that and save our recipe. That was quick, but of course could be more elaborate. And we have all sorts of actions you can take to put it into the right state. Input text, type text as a human, hover some element, and do other things so that it comes out exactly as you want it. Let's save this particular recipe. Here it is, and we can now jump to the screenshots. These I've run before. Let's find the one we just set up. Here it is, and we can ask to have that particular recipe executed. Here we go. And again, you wouldn't do these one at a time. You might go ask for one when you are setting it up as some sort of QA to make sure it comes out exactly as you had hoped for. But most of the time, you'll run this on a schedule at night and get a report on what happened. Now, this one is running. While that is running, I want to show you just quickly two things here. One, the style template. So when we generate an image, we'll do it under a style template, or really set of guidelines that you put in place so everything is exactly the same and consistent. So that means you'll do the margin, the padding, the rounded corners, the drop shadows, and all of that kind of good stuff as you need to. But you're in charge of it, and whatever you want here, you do as you kind of see fit. And it might just be that, hey, I want our annotations to be in that kind of corporate dark green of ours. Okay, very good. It needs to be a little bit fatter. I'm a fan of that. I might need captions on my images, but I need them to be at the top and a little bit more visible. And I might need a watermark to kind of go on the tool itself. I can upload an image, but again, all sorts of good things so you can have it generated consistently the same over and over again. There's another note, which is that there might just be a set of things on your demo account or on your app in general that are certainly worthy of being there, but not for the screenshots. That could be your little support bubble in the lower right hand corner. I don't want that in my screenshots. You can set up one time only a set of items you want removed if we spot them. It could be an upgrade banner, could be a little new label. Yeah, but it's not new forever, so please remove that. So we'll kind of have you set this up, use the same cloud browser, and if we spot it, remove it. If we don't see it, no biggie. We'll just kind of move on. Those were the enhancements. Let's go back to the screenshots here. That's the one we asked for. Took us a minute to kind of generate that. Let's go have a look here. And this here will live under a constant fixed URL. It will never change. Meaning that if you link to this, that'll be a live image, which will keep overwriting it again and again and again, so that it'll always just be the most fresh version, depending on how often you choose to reprocess all of your screenshots. Side note, you can move this to your domain, but probably doesn't really matter that much. These are all invisible URLs in your code that the user do not see. But sure, we'll move it to a domain, and that's certainly an option here. Now, another thing I want to just show here on those images, which is that, let's just go have a look at all of them, which is that we keep a full history. So if I spot a difference, I'll take everything and move it one step back and show you the newest version here. So that, hey, what did it change from? What did it look like in the past, which could be yesterday or a week ago or a month ago or 2 years ago, and we'll keep that. We won't keep replicas, only on the chains. So we can go back and have a look and say, hey, what did this look like back in May? Oh, yes, some silly kind of upgrade banner here at the top. I should probably add that to my remove elements so I don't see that. That's what kind of happened on the next one here. But a full history. Now, you might just immediately say, yeah, Dennis, I like, but how do I know what changed? Well, we recommend that you actually run these as audits, which is that your images are fixed and you don't overwrite anything unless you've been made aware of it. So we can run these audits where we will generate all of your screenshots, not overwrite, keep them temporarily in the audit itself, compare them pixel by pixel to all of the existing screenshots, and then show you if there was a change. And if we jump into an audit here, plenty of them, of course, will have no change. Plenty of items in your app will kind of stay the same forever, months, quarters, years. That login screen probably haven't changed since the beginning of the company. Now, you'll just go about filtering this and say, hey, I want to see just the changed items so I can have a look and say what matters. Oh, this is a sexy little kind of side note, which is that today when I'm recording this, it's June 21st. When you start to apply automation, if you have anything where you see dates or kind of current events, it's going to be super fresh, right? That means people will look at your help center and say, what? Did she take that screenshot yesterday? Yeah, she did, because it's automated. Now, this here, of course, I don't need to kind of change anything in my article. I'm going to be okay with that and say, hey, let's kind of go with this. Cool, that disappears. I could show that as well. Let's show the updated ones. And here, yeah, another set of numbers that change. If I can't really see the change, you can just go in here. You have this nifty little, okay. So it's this kind of part of the chart that kind of changed. Again, this is just a silly analytics application I use as an example, but you get the gist. I can accept that as well. This audit, which will run at a schedule, we go back here, that you set up. This one is set to run automatically once every 7 days, where we would regenerate all those screenshots, do a pixel diff on all of them, and then notify you in a nifty little email that will tell you exactly how much, if anything, have changed, and allow you a quick click into seeing that. Of course, you can, like I've done here, just run an audit at will. If you want to see, hey, we did all that kind of work, or the engineers kind of alluded to something, or I think the main nav, let me run a quick audit and see what happens here. And then you'll just kind of see how many discrepancies might have been found. This we can do directly on the images in the Help Center as well. I will leave that out for a second. Now that you have generated all of these screenshots, what do you do with them? Well, you can do a few things. First of all, you can say all of these screenshots here, I need to export them. I need you to put them somewhere under my control. You might want to put them in a Google folder so that your SDRs don't use willy-nilly ugly screenshots they crafted themselves. You might just tell them, if you need anything from the product, here's a folder which I update every Sunday night with fresh collateral from the product. It could be you want to export them to a cloud bucket of your own, so that's where you want to link to the images from your own domain. Now, you might also just want to embed the images directly into the articles and use this whole idea of live images. And you can just use that URL. Now we have a little kind of nifty populated image tag here, but you can do it yourself if you want. And I can pick any one of my features and I'll get kind of an image tag, and you can just go embed that and you now have that live image. Or you can choose to do a full-on sync, which is that you go into settings, you will go connect your Help Center. It's a set of API keys that you set up and providers. Side note, you do that once, we'll keep that in a key store on Amazon and never see it again. And Here, you allow us to kind of scan each of the articles, have a look at each of the images. If you run an audit and you want something synced, you tell us, and we'll overwrite that directly in the articles at your request. Well, damn, that was quick. That was 1.5 years in the basement. For me and my propeller had friends, but that's the very short story. 1, you tell us what product you want screenshots of. 2, you set up a login profile so we can log into it on your behalf. 3, you start to create recipes that are simple or super sophisticated, kind of setting up a number of steps. Now you set up a schedule once every Sunday night at 11 p.m. You want us to execute an audit. We rerun all of the recipes, 300 some odd recipes. Check pixel by pixel if anything is different to what we had before. If there is any difference, we'll notify you, allow you to go in and see what that was. If you're okay, you tell us to accept it in whatever mode you're in. We might sync it directly with the article or just overwrite it directly in your repository because you take it from there. That's us. I hope that made a little bit of sense, and always eager to kind of do the 4-hour seminar. Email me at any time, dennis@launchbrightly.com. Thanks much for listening. Cheers. Bye there.